Hello there. Greetings to you all from around the nation, around the world, indeed, if you're tuning in from overseas. This three-part series I've put together just with the view of really supporting people to step into that place of learning to hold ourselves at a higher level, to raise and sustain another level of consciousness, and to, I love the word equanimity, so to be able to hold yourself in a place of equanimity through these troubled times, so you're able to travel this journey in a more balanced way and not be so had by external circumstances. So if you want to grab yourself a glass of water, if you haven't already, and I'll just set up the screen. My pen and paper, if you feel you need that, though the recording is going to be available afterwards. So yes, reclaiming the joy of life, and I like the term masterclass because it is stepping into a pathway of beginning to master your life. And you know, I've included a range of things. I want it to be uplifting, I want it to be fun, I also want it to be empowering and informational, but without overburdening you in the first part. And a lot of what I'm going to share is not all that complicated. However, it is about committing to another level of consciousness, I think, is the main message that I would like to share. So let's go, shall we? In 2001, after a series of losses, which culminated actually with my partner of 20 years leaving with another woman, his parting words to me were, "No, I don't love you, and I've never loved you." And in that moment, I thought, if that's true, then everything I've ever known is not true, and I disintegrated. However, following on from that, there were some conscious choices that I made. My doctor wanted to medicate me. I said no, I have every right to be feeling all this grief at this point. And I found another doctor, a holistic practitioner, and my reintegration began. I had a conversation with a magician, and in that conversation, the joyologist was born. There was a little lull in that conversation, and I just got a message. It's like, oh my God, we've got radiology, pathology, hematology, but no joyology. I'm going to be a joyologist. So at that time, there were none. So it was very much a pioneering journey, and circumstances began to unfold. Early in 2002, Celine Dion released her song, "I Am Alive." Probably most of you will know that song. And it's the words in that song sang to me. I get wings to fly, I'm alive when I hear you breathe. I get wings to fly, I feel that I'm alive. And as I listened to this song over and over again, because I was really quite taken by it, I realized it held a very special message. There was this thing that was calling me, even though all the love in my life had left, my partner had left, my family weren't speaking, so love had exited stage left. And yet what I'm going to share with you unfolded, and in the doing so, this song was a part of it. When I look back, it's hard to believe that at this period of my life, I actually was not glad to be alive. But the song goes through, and you can read through this later in the clip, but it was a song about that overwhelming feeling of being alive, that experience you have when you're deeply in love with someone and that love is reciprocated. And if you listen to the words of the song after this video, there's a lot of language about being called, reached for, feeling you can fly, touch the sky, liberating words, yet there was a lot of poignancy as well. So, you know, but for me, I found love in this song. She really touched my heart. She really reached a space in me that was yearning for love, but wasn't receiving it at that point anyway. So enamored was I with this song that I actually employed an acting coach for about 3 months. And she taught me to do an improv performance to the words of this song. And perhaps I'll make a clip afterwards and leave it in the group where people can access. And I've used this many times, most keynotes actually, to open and close my keynotes. And it's been very much a signature song, if you like. And here we are now, 2023. The point I want to make is it's a song that has sustained me. It's sustained me through all of this time. The improv performance that I learned to this song, she trained me so well. I mean, it is improv. However, I needed to learn how to express in the improv fashion until it was so embedded that I didn't need to think. She would start me halfway through the song so that I would learn to pick up at various points all along the way. And then as I started delivering it, it was fascinating to see that the more I could just be present to the audience in expressing every single sentence without me singing, just through my gestures to the audience, I realized the emotional pull that I could have on the audience. It was incredibly extraordinary. So being able to take a new art form and embed myself in that and become so practiced that I had an influence on the people I was addressing down the track. For most entertainers or speakers, but even if you don't have to be an entertainer, most people have a single defining moment when confidence and the self-doubt that most of us wrestle with is overcome. So I want you to just think for a minute. Have you got one defining moment when you actually got present to your life? You may probably have more than one, but is there a doozy? Is there a biggie? Is it calling you to something? Can you write it down, make a note? If nothing comes to mind, just put the question down. You know, what was that one defining moment that got you present to your life in a way you hadn't been before? And then for those that are in the Facebook group, if you would share your thoughts and expressions on there so that the others can get a sense and feel for the kinds of things that shape and trigger change and unfolding of something new in our lives. And then once you've done that, is there a song that reflects that moment? Do you have a song that brings up that memory or that moment or that reflection? And does it sustain you? I know so many of us can be attracted to a song. We like it for, many and varied reasons. So this thought is more about, does it link into that point in your life when things change? If it doesn't, well, that's okay too. But I have a sense that there'll be something that will connect in. And the reason I bring this up is this can become a point of contact, a point of connection with yourself, where you can begin to bring yourself into that self-sustaining moment. Over the next couple of years, from 2001, 2002, as things were evolving, I went through probably 18 months, 2 years of accelerated growth, lots of things happening. Joyology was coming together. It was a bit of a pioneering journey. So the road was not made. I needed to create it. So there was a lots of practice, speaking about, for example, I spoke for a long time about creativity. I spoke for a long time about joy, happiness, until this bigger picture began to unfold. So I just turned up with what I had at that time. And that was a pretty wonderful period. I probably spoke a couple of hundred times, mostly to people in chronic pain, people with arthritis, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, all those chronic, debilitating, painful conditions. And my idea was to be bringing them some joy when it seemed there was none, or, their bodily influences were interfering with their enjoyment of life. However, underneath all of this, at this time, I was still running a bit of a racket. And that racket was, I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, and I'm terrified. And when years passed and I look back, it's like, well, actually, that wasn't the best mantra to have running in the background if I was going to call myself a joyologist. But it was a period when I could see the contrast and what I could do anyway, the things that unfolded. A friend in New Zealand, Tony Knight, posted online just a simple sentence: your suffering is your source of your salvation. And I thought, what's he really mean by that? And I wanted to know more about his take on it, so I asked him to expand. And he replied and said, because the suffering is your shadow, your unconscious aspect. As it is unconscious, the suffering keeps happening. Go into and face the suffering, and as it releases, so does your resonance and energy. This enables us to balance the polarities of light and dark, which we must do internally to shift the suffering and the worldview. So until we go deep, we're not going to find or get access to the level of flow that we need to shift and unearth the limitations. So for me, that early couple of years was very much about, as I proceeded to learn and develop and build new things and gradually get a brand together, along that pathway, there was so much of this coming up for me to look at. And I endeavoured along that pathway to be present to it all. It was a commitment I made to myself. So my big idea back then was joyology. You may well have a big idea you'd like to give birth to. Mine was to be the world's first joyologist. Big claim. I was a bit of a pioneer because there was no model to go on. So there were lots of thrashing around, trying to figure out stuff. What could I bring from the past that would be useful now? I was a nurse for 20 years. Then I was in advertising. How can I bring those two skill sets together? And what new information did I need to bring something forth? So the answers weren't entirely obvious at the outset. So I decided this thrashing around was not very useful. So to get clever. So I had a friend who owned several rest homes actually. And I asked her if I could come and do 2 pilots. The first was a 3-month program, teaching the residents, 29 of them, laughter yoga, which you might be aware of, the fun you're having when you're not really having fun. And I did that for 90 days and declared them to be the world's first joyology department. In the second pilot, which occurred after that, and was a 12-month program, I assessed the residents and the staff against all their multiple intelligences. In this world, we honour sport and academia, but we don't have much time for interpersonal relationships, intrapersonal, practical intelligence, spiritual intelligence, creative intelligence. These are not given anywhere near the same look in as when we look at sport, for example. So as I did this, I ended up developing a very extensive and varied activities program with over 50 sponsored activities each month. So residents were exposed to the most remarkable range of activities, and the community in which the rest home was located or contributed to this program. What I noticed as these 2 programs unfolded, there were times when I would go in and be working for the rest home. I would be upset sometimes, still driving to work, especially in that first, 6 to 12 months, tidying myself up in the car park, powder my nose and stiff upper lip, and in I'd go and deliver either the laughter yoga or these other programs. And what became apparent very soon was that these 29 residents who were aged between 60 to 105 showed me unconditional love. They waited each morning for me to arrive. They engaged and they would be at the door waiting, some of them. I wonder what hat she's got on today. I wonder what she'll bring today. I wonder what mischief she'll get up to today. And they filled a place in my heart that everyone else had walked away from. My partner had left. My family haven't spoken still since 1989. And here in this old age home, I found this incredible love beyond what I thought. This is Stan and Glad Ravity in this picture. They had been married 68 years, and we actually organised for them a ceremony for them to renew their vows. During this time, I really appreciated, look at what happens and how we can shift our state when we place ourselves in service of others, when we be a contribution. And for that first 3 months, I was not working there full time at that point. For the second pilot, I was. So I was only there for an hour or so every day. And so we did this laughter yoga, which is quite fun. And the shift and change that would happen for them and for myself as, you know, they would line up to come to the laughter workshop. They'd be killing themselves laughing. They would talk about it later. I didn't create a, I don't have it, like it wasn't a clinical trial. I wish I'd thought about taking some more measurements to see what happened. But of the 29 residents, 4 of them had been on long-term antidepressants. And in the 15 months that I was there, they came off those long-term medications. They started to do things that they had never done before. People started painting and creating. They got out of bed. They started creating mischief. They would pinch other residents' laundry and put it in their little trolley basket, and they'd hold it up when they went to the dining room and say, "Whose are these big britches?" And they started to make fun of their infirmity. And they would do these laughter yoga exercises when they passed each other in the corridor on their walking frames. So this was a kind of a painful and yet simultaneously joyful period of my life. And it reconnected me to who I really am. I had thought at the time when my ex left and said those words, "No, I don't love you, and I never loved you." I thought, if that's true, then everything I've ever known is not true. And this period of time really had me to be able to sort things out in my mind. Was that the truth from my partner? No. He came back 12 months later and wanted to get back together, but of course I'd moved on. I had changed. In order to cope, I had to change. And these beautiful, beautiful people showed me the pathway. As I came in and served them, brought them some joy, initially with the laughter yoga, and then with a range of other activities over a 12-month period, so it was that their lives were transformed, and so was mine. You'll know what a chameleon is, that lizard that can change its colour and adapt very readily to the environment. I kind of liken myself a little bit to that. Certainly over the years, I've learnt to adapt and change and be more responsive. There's been something innate within me that has enabled me to tap into this full range of creative expression. And that's what I wish for other people, to learn and find ways to tap into what their full self-expression is. For me, it's about, in my speaking, bringing big, bold visuals that interpret an idea. I love storytelling and being able to take people on a roller coaster of emotions. Perfect way to be either opening or closing a keynote at a conference. So as we come to the end of this little first presentation, I want you to revisit again. What's the defining moment that dawned on you at some point that caused you to be awake? What's that defining moment? When was that moment? You might have more than one. If so, list them down. Listing them down can help you sort out which was the biggest, which was the most significant. And if you're in the Facebook group, please go and share it there. And then, was there a song that personifies that defining moment for you? And again, please share on that page. And I will share, I'll try and get myself recorded doing that improv performance to I Am Alive. If we were doing this live, I would be performing it and then getting you to do it with me. So I hope this has been a little awakening, a little eye-opening, a little window into how things were for me. And of course, it's a condensed version. It was much more expansive than that. And I've just chosen a few things to help you begin to identify and then find a way to hang on to those things so they support you. So I Am Alive became a song that has stayed with me through till today. I would play that most mornings. And sometimes I'll act it out. Nobody's watching at home. And arthritic hands don't let me do it quite so well these days. But just the same, it's not so much about that. It's about the expression and being able to give vent to your emotions in many and varied ways, which is part of what our multiple intelligences and multiple expressions are all about. So you don't need to applause, not really. I won't hear it anyway. So this has been about a step towards reclaiming your joy for life, seeing how things can appear side by side. There was that loss and the pain of all of those other losses. There was a barrage of others alongside him going. And yet in that first 3 to 6 months, I walked into the arms of these elderly people and was embraced. And as I served them, I created a healing space for myself and for them. So my details are there if anyone would like to be able to capture those. And I'll be back again with series 2 tomorrow. So thank you for your time today. Over and out.